Fair to say that haunted dolls in cinema aren't exactly the greatest fables to be told, although Annabelle managed to tell a genuinely frightening story about a freaky as fuck looking doll through only the monologue of the owners. It truly was genius directing, built through tense music, clever camera work, and the design of a doll that should send the toy company to prison if they're willing to make dolls that look like that. But I'm only talking about the first 5 minutes of the Conjuring movie, which basically said everything it needed to say about the doll, but they managed to make 3 fucking movies out of that one 5-minute scene, each of which sucked ass. I mean, the second one had me prairie dogging at some points, but it didn't really do much. But maybe I'm just getting sick of origin movies that are coming out after a character is already established. But to those stupid people who believe that Annabelle is the pinnacle of possessed pygmies, you are wrong. Chucky is the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. When I was 10 or 11, around that age, I went away with my dad and brother for a few nights to work in a rural town in New South Wales. Dad decided to leave me and my bro at the hotel while he went out for dinner. Don't worry, Mum. It was the restaurant across the road. So my brother and I turned on the TV and what came on? Child's Play. It sounded like a good watch. It had a cute little toy in it and oh boy was I wrong. Needless to say that the image of Chucky walking up the steps when Andy is in the wacko house is embedded in my mind and will haunt me forever. Managed to build up a bit of a spot in my heart for this character, but maybe it was just the palpitations it gave me. Maybe this is why I'm suffering such bad anxiety these days. Could have things really been much different if I just didn't watch this movie? Well, there's some food for thought. I don't think the ridiculous and craziness of this character isn't lost to me. I know exactly what they did with these films, but I'm not here to discuss the films, because only recently I found out that they made a TV show about Chucky. But I wasn't actually excited about this one because I assumed it was going to be based off of the new remake in 2019. You know that original concept when they had a murderer using voodoo magic to put his soul into a toy? Well, they managed to turn that into an employee at the factory that makes the toys is having a bad day, so he turns off the artificial intelligence safety switch in the doll, which leads to the doll going on a rampage. I'm kind of getting some Doc Ock vibes here.
Intelligence in the arms is as advanced as you suggest. Couldn't that make you vulnerable to them?
How right you are. Which is why I developed this inhibitor chip to protect my higher brain function. It means I maintain control of these arms, instead of them controlling me.
At least it wasn't as bad as the Total Recall remake. What a fucking hunk of shit that was. But given that recently I watched Bride of Chucky, it reminded me of how much of a fan of Jennifer Tilly I am. There's just something about her that I just can't put my finger on that I really want to. What is it that just draws me to her massive and revealing personality? I guess we'll never know. Looking at her IMDb and Xvideos page, I saw that she was in the new TV show Chucky, so straight away I jumped on and I started watching it and oh my god. Brad Dourif and his laugh are back in the iconic Chucky. I'm about halfway through this series and I felt it was worth making a video about. This little guy came back from the dead and rammed his heart-shaped knife right into my chest and I was hemorrhaging nostalgia, shock, and laughter. As I said in my Ghostbusters video, trying to remake something from decades ago, it just doesn't really work. But the creators of this show really knew who Chucky was and what he was about, and they dove in with the craziness, and it's just a good reminder that sometimes to make a show fun, you just gotta dive in with the chaos and try not to modernize it, not to give any big philosophical questions about it. He's a little murderous doll, let him go kill some fucking people. At least you won't end up with the overbloated crap like that new I Know What You Did Last Summer. Maybe I'll make a video about that one. I know this show is about a murderous little toy, but this really does stay even further away from reality. For instance, there's a scene where Chucky is repeatedly stabbing a guy with a handful of syringes and he starts bleeding from his mouth, and then his ears, and then his eyes, and then his fingernails. Now, I've studied anatomy and physiology a couple of years ago, and I don't think it's possible to do that. But yet again, that was 2 years ago, and maybe our knowledge on the circulatory system has changed since then. Another scene that really demonstrates the chaotic and fun nature of Chucky is that he's thrown down a medical waste chute in a hospital and lands in a bunch of syringes. We don't know what's in those syringes, but he gets impaled by multiple of them, and he has so much fun that he just starts swimming around in the bin. I think once I've finished this show, I'm gonna make another video because I don't feel like I'm giving it justice for this one. I'm just trying to tell you how much I enjoy it right now. So let's remember this moment as it's the mark of the first part 1 of 2 parts of my reviews. So if you're into 80s and 90s horror, I would highly suggest that you watch this. It's good, gory fun. But let's wait till the end. Has anybody else noticed that Brad Dourif looks a lot like Tommy Wiseau?